Oh, this time we'll call the Tuesday, November 23rd, 2021 meeting of the Jackson County Board of Supervisors to order. Our first item is a work session on the jail storage building with John Hanson, he just joined us. So good morning, John. There's John. Good morning, John. You're muted.
Traffic. 453. Sorry, that took a while. My phone's going crazy.
John, can you hear us?
There he is.
I can hear you. It wouldn't let me unmute for some reason, so. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. Okay, we're ready to talk about the storage building at Sheriff's property.
Okay. In discussing with Mike, my understanding is that that the board would like to handle the concrete on that project or getting that project
We have an
established.
opportunity to do that, and we thought really to move things forward, why don't we just take care of that and get it done?
That would be fine if that's your wish. I know that you guys have been having some discussions regarding footings, stem walls. I mean, you can put a trench footing in and typically what they do is put the stem wall right on top of it. But you know, it seems that you probably need to have some discussions with some of the local contractors. I have talked to D&T Concrete and they kind of indicated they would not have time to do it at this time. And I talked to Loris Weber, and I think you have too, Mike. And he said he could possibly get it in yet this year. County line, I had not heard back from.
That's exactly opposite. Actually, D&T would do it Monday and Tuesday. Would put the footing and the wall in on Tuesday and it would be done on Wednesday. But Loris, at this time, I talked to him this morning before I come in. And he just don't have time, and it's getting time that things are gonna get cold on him. And I guess my question is, John, can we go ahead and do this? Are we okay with a permit?
Yeah, my understanding is that Scott Worth said you can put the concrete in until you get the permit, and then you'll have to file for the permit after you receive the engineer drawings from David Rivers.
Okay, so is that David also filing for the permit? Also, he's putting the building up.
My understanding is it's supposed to be under the county, but that's fine. If they'll allow that, that's fine if they want to do it. He'll probably need to submit the insurance requirements to you. You know, prior to getting on site. That was a part of the contract.
I guess when we spoke last week, and I had spoke to a couple contractors and builders, and of course, you know, it's hard for you to get a hold of the contractors for this project. I want you to concentrate on the jail. I think we want you to concentrate on the jail. This utility building, I don't think it's a big issue for us. We can take care of that. We don't need you to worry about that and organize. Once the two contractors get together, if we have a cement contractor and we already have the building contractor, let them coordinate events and talk to us. And to me, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's.
Well, I think that's what we need to do. We just need to move forward and get it done, and so that the foundation's ready for when the building gets here.
Then you have a building when we start building the jail.
Yeah.
John, what's the elevation of that floor, finished floor in that building? You know what that should be?
I believe it's 996. It's on the plans that you have over there. Plans were sent to Lisa and to Sheriff yesterday.
He'll be inside the wall.
Yes.
John, did you snail mail that or did you email it?
UPS.
Okay.
If I remember right from looking at the plan, John, I think it was 993 on one end and 996 on the other, if I'm remembering right.
That's not finished floor though. Finished floor elevation is 996.31.
Okay, John, where's the benchmark on that? Because that's not the correct elevation. The elevation out there is about 720. 700, 720. Our levy here is 662. You don't get up the height, that elevation until you're clear on the other side of Andrew. So I don't know where these elevation,
Because
Great.
they're based
as
on-
long as we have a benchmark to take off with.
Yeah, and you will. I mean, Alex Davis put it together, so he's got a benchmark out there.
So Alex did that.
Yeah, the civil engineering was done by Alex, so he'll establish a benchmark out there, which he already has. And elevation is not just based on sea level, it's based on finished floor elevation in comparison to what your grades are out there of the jail. So he has a benchmark, obviously, because he's got all the grades established on the civil engineering plan. So you go by, he can set the benchmark and I'll tell you what the benchmark number is. And
Okay.
that's what you're to go off of.
Now I just need to know where to set the transit to.
We can
And
get,
So as long as Alex knows what it is
yeah, you can
and
get-
we have this number, we're good.
Yep.
Okay, is there any other discussion on this diagram as far as, I don't know if you've got this, John, as far as where we want the overhead doors, the walk-in doors and such? Any input on that? I've got my own idea, but
I just discussed that I thought that you'd want the overhead doors to one side of the building. I mean, if you have the overhead doors sitting 10 foot apart, you know, or whatever, then that center space is wasted. So I was thinking you probably want them towards one end of the building and then the man door at the other end of the building and leave it open. That decision, I met with David Rivers and the sheriff last Thursday, and they discussed options. He seemed to want to put it in between posts, but you can put a header in there and keep them a little bit closer together and still, you know, maintain your 5 foot spans on your trusses and such. The other thing that you will need heating and air conditioning in there, keeping in mind that it's going to be the office space during the winter and such, and plus you need that space conditioned somewhat if you know, for if you were to ever have vehicular homicide evidence, those sort of things, that's supposed to be a fairly conditioned space. You're also talking about putting a restroom in and stuff, and I've been told, well, it's got to be ADA compliant, and you're supposed to have a male and female, but you guys can sort that out, I guess.
I'll take it go anywhere they want now.
I guess.
Restrooms anymore, they have a man and
They have-
woman on it.
I mean, the schedule, as you're aware, I mean, my understanding is there is some concern on David Rivers' part of being out there at the same time with construction. Well, you know, given the time period that we're looking at, that we can't get steel or precast, you know, till, you know, close to August, September time frame, you're not gonna have that much activity out there that it couldn't be put up in the spring if you wanted to.
Okay, well, we can discuss that as long as you're okay with us kind of taking the lead on that building and running with it. I think we can discuss where we want the doors and as far as heating and cooling that building, we're also talking about the possibility of if you do move the doors closer to the east end, you could have a boxed in office area, bathroom area, that you wouldn't have to keep the whole building that temperature. if whatever storage is in there, you can fluctuate what you would heat. But your office area would be much smaller, and we could close that in and still have bathroom office area.
I don't need an office area for myself. I mean, I told the city that it was not gonna be an administrative section, that is basically a storage building. I just need a place large enough that I could get contractors in and have a table, 2 tables in there, so that I can have meetings with the contractors for coordination and such. And that we have a place for Jeremy or somebody that he can throw out plans and everything. But you're gonna have a ton of you're gonna have door frames and everything else that are gonna have to be stored in there. And we're gonna have to have material, as it's available, we gotta get it on site, because it's just, right now, it's crazy out there on the lead times. So, I mean, if it's available, you better be picking it up and storing it in that building. So I don't need an office as such or anything else. And you can just let it run wild in there if you want. And, you can put a small gas furnace and a small air conditioner, just temper it, and not worry about, developing office spaces and stuff like that. It's up to you on the restroom. It's really not needed, and I'm not gonna use it for contractors, I can guarantee you, unless one of you wants to come over and clean after 20 contractors. We'll have porta johns out there for them during the construction. But that's up to you and how you wanna do that.
Not really necessary saying it's an office, John. I'm just saying it could be a
Partitioned
smaller
area.
20 by 30 area that we're not heating the whole building in the middle of winter when you need it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, some people take a different look at that, because, if you've got emergency equipment in there, you don't want it, you want to be able to thaw out during the, dead of winter if you take it out, and not be just ice packed, or not start when you have an emergency, you need to use it, but that's, the operation of that is up to you.
Yep, and we'll have that
Okay.
option.
So,
Anything else for John?
I'm hoping to sometime maybe today catch Mike and we'll talk about the doors and the placement stuff and kind of discuss.
Talk to
Discussion
Alice.
on
Or, I
color,
mean, all, of them, yeah.
discussion on the color of the building. When do they need to know that color scheme? I guess that's more for
Dave.
Dave,
Dave.
yeah.
Okay, never mind.
it'll need to be known so you can get the building ordered, now. I mean, we're looking at the building sometime in January as it is. So he will need to get that building identified as far as color selection.
Yep.
Overhead doors are out, 3-4 months. So, he's gonna want the color of them, get them ordered, whether you're going white or whatever. So, I mean, it does matter that you get some of that resolved.
Absolutely.
So John, the outside of the building, the jail itself or the administration building, what colors are on that? Is it more just grays and? Or is there any?
I would figure you're probably, the precast is gonna be kind of a tan, but no specific color has been picked out at this point in time. A lot of them might go hunter green on just some of the flashings. But that's open. We haven't not determined colors, so let's put it that way.
Okay,
So if you choose some colors as an overall color, the building can, we can pick colors on the building to match, I guess, so.
okay.
Okay.
As far as if you are putting a restroom in or something, or you need any input on where you're gonna bring your sanitary connection. I mean, there's one coming up the corridor out the north end of the building, but depending on elevation, you may have to go out and hit it outside the front, and it goes towards the west there. So those are on the plans, and if you need it, have any questions in regards to that we can help coordinate that also.
Is a city sewer line on the east side of the street? Where is that?
Well, you'd be connecting into the new main coming out of the new facility. You wouldn't go across the street with that one. You'd connect into the new main coming out, which is I believe coming out the east or the west side near out towards near the vehicle sally port.
We come out the southwest corner with our sewer outlet, we're looking good.
Yep, you can make that work. Yep.
I think there's, you said, John, when we met, I think there was 1 foot of fall if we went out the southeast corner into the jail. And I think it increased to about 3 foot fall if we went out the southwest corner into the Sally Port hookup.
Yeah, if you look on your sheet, M 1.0, when you get the plans, it shows sanitary and gives elevation where it's coming out compared to your finished floor elevation on your plans.
We'll get contractors look at that.
Okay, anything else for John?
So as far as the jail goes, plans are going out to the contractors. Lisa and I are working with your bonding attorney on getting documents prepared so that we can get them out, notice bid letting out and such. And I sent a set of plans to both Lisa to have on file there. She has to have them on file in her office in case anybody wants to take a look at the plans in the office. And I've copied you, Brent, also. They did put the wrong name on there, but I sent a copy to you also.
And did we change our date for our
Yeah.
For the pre-bid meeting was changed to December 7th because Rick Widener wanted to be available for that meeting with the contractors. Now that meeting scheduled for the 7th is basically just to answer contractor questions in regards to the plans and the bid. And you're welcome to attend it if you'd like. And I talked to Lisa and I said, if there's going to be more than one of you, you might want to list it as part of the continued public meeting for that particular day.
That is what we'll do.
Okay, yeah, that's great. I mean, that way I can introduce you all and sheriff and everybody, and we're getting a good response as far as contractors. So plans are printed and they're going out now. So
Okay,
Great, thank you.
if you have any other questions, give me a call at any time. And if you have any questions regarding the metal building, then let me know.
we'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yep, you too. Bye now.
Bye. This is the one bid we have. That,
We contacted 3 or 4.
yeah, no, that's.
Brent, would it be okay if we
I'm
took
okay with
Julie
that.
Fern quick?
Good.
You want to come on up,
Is
Julie?
Mary on the?
Is who?
Okay.
You guys can
So we still got.
Mary Tidwell, yeah. The PowerPoint, can she share that more?
Sure.
Hi, Mary.
Yeah.
Oh, she's
Got
muted.
that this
Okay.
morning. Got that this morning.
There we go. Now I'm unmuted. Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you share the PowerPoint, Mary?
I have it here. Can you see it?
No,
We see you.
Okay, just a second.
no, we don't.
Oh, here we go. Share screen. Now can you see it?
Yes,
Yeah.
Okay. Now if I can get it to slide, yeah. But the top thing keeps wanting to come down and cover up my thing to click. It shows the number, the screen sharing thing. Maybe we'll just go, there we go.
we all do have a copy of it in our book.
Okay,
It's okay if we see the things on the side.
yeah, okay, we'll just go. I was pleased to be able to report for the first time last year. And they were, Jackson County Prevention Coalition was in year 3 this year of the grant. So across the top, you see the categories in the links that are required to be represented in a drug-free communities coalition project. Their first goal has to do with collaboration and capacity building around the coalition. This year, they had 41 individuals, 14 new members. They held coalition meetings every month. They also ran 4 committees, which had a total of 43 meetings, and met with 2 youth at high schools, did 12 substance prevention trainings and 8 group presentations. 11 out of the 12 sectors that were required were actively engaged in one way or another every quarter of the grant. They had 14 new youth at those high schools active in new projects. One of the goal activities for this year was for members to actually attend CADCA training and other training outside the local area. And so 4 members attended CADCA and 3 members attended, and is that correct, Julie? They assisted with presentation?
That was me, but yeah.
Yeah, at the National Prevention Network Conference. So those are big trainings. Under goal 1 is also where they want to make sure that you're trying to be inclusive of your community. And I've got to say, this coalition last year had significant efforts on cultural competence. They did training for law enforcement and members on the Micronesian culture and repurposing privilege. They translated materials into, is this how you say this, Pinglup peas?
Single peas.
Okay. They did their alcohol server training in Spanish, and shared out the United Way Equity Challenge. So their communication was through their webpage, Facebook, individual and group contact. They had information tables at community events. And I was particularly impressed about the drive-in theater movie. That's something I've never seen a coalition do before. So I did not know, I don't know how many people actually came to the movie.
51 cars. I don't know how many people.
People in a car, okay. But they had progress. There were 17 activities under goal 1, and they had progress on every single one of those activities. Those activities are categories. There were 123 distinct work efforts tracked by I do in a big Excel sheet that I have Julie send me a recorder. And so I can figure this out. And volunteers participated in 92% of those distinct efforts. That's another thing that CDC wants to see, that it's not just a coordinator or an agency doing the work. They want to know how involved your coalition is. Goal 2 was to reduce substance use, and you have to have substances of focus outlined in your grant. And with the overall goal of those substances is to reduce youth use. The best measure for that is 11th grade. They also do data for grade 6 and 8 and all that, but those fluctuate up and down. 11th grade is when you can pretty well tell what way they're going. And then they had to pick specific risk factors. Under alcohol, their first substance of focus, they wanted to increase the perception of risk of harm. They want to decrease access to alcohol. They want to increase prescription drug peer disapproval and perception of risk or harm. And then the same thing with marijuana, increased peer disapproval of use and perception of risk of harm. The activities under goal 2 in their action plan were pretty well divided amongst all 3 substances of focus. They made distinct progress that I could measure on the prescription drug, 100% of their activities, and over 90% of the items under alcohol and marijuana. They're still dealing with COVID, as was everybody else this last year. So a couple of those were a little harder to get at. There were 106 distinct efforts under goal 2. And from what it looked by what they did, they made strong use of their community partners. Okay, for alcohol, they had a target reduction of down to 46%. And you know what? Is there any way I can move your, yeah, never mind, I got it. They actually went below that for risk of harm, down to 40%. This is great risk only. They did not measure access to alcohol in the core survey that they did at the schools last year. We have to find this year, I think we'll be able to get that, because it's my understanding the state is going to do the Iowa Youth Survey. And so if your school districts participate in that, that will have that in there. But overall, your 30-day alcohol use went down 50% from 2018. And this is any use. For marijuana, they wanted to bring down or increase perception of 11th grade peer or marijuana. This is prescription drug peer disapproval to 66%. From their baseline on all these is the 2016 Iowa Youth Survey, which you'll see was 64%. The 2020 core survey was 77% for 11th grade. So they really went great ways on that. And then the great risk of harm, unfortunately, went down a little bit. They wanted 59, we got 56%. And then the 30-day prescription use for all grade levels in Iowa, and your communities are no exception, remains about 3%. And that did not change. Now we got marijuana. They wanted to increase peer disapproval. And they did. They have for the past 2 surveys to 59%. The thing is, with perceived risk of harm, this measure was written so they wanted to see how many 11th graders thought they were at slight or no risk if they use marijuana on a regular basis. And 61% of your 11th grade students do not see. This kind of went the wrong way also. But you know, you got to remember, this is impacted by national information and what's going on in the state. And then your actual 30-day marijuana use, so for 11th grade, was also cut in half from 2016. So regardless of what they think, there were, you know, only half as 5% of your 11th graders reported 30-day marijuana use. And then here's an example of some of the items. I didn't want to drown you with stuff. You know, you probably got the actual annual report. And so I just listed an example of something they did under each of these items: 2 for alcohol, 2 for prescription drugs, and 2 for marijuana. Their marketing campaign, the youth campaign, had 210,000 impressions. That was very good. Your compliance check pass rate was high at 85%, but I know you'd like to see it higher. And the youth reached 1,000 people with their alcohol marketing, and then had a parade float. So this coalition really kind of got out there. You had over 200 adults at the Talcott presentation, and 31 drop boxes were distributed for prescription drug take back. So for this next year's evaluation, we're going to continue the coordinator Excel logs with the activity matrix. I know all the coordinators kind of hate that, but that really, really tells me who's doing what. Excuse me. And we'll take a look at the Iowa Youth Survey and compare it to the multi-year core survey that you've done locally. Continue to monitor your Facebook page and web page, have contacts with the coordinator, and this last one I didn't change. I will be doing some key informant contact interviews, and you know, where I have a duplicate for quarterly coordinator Excel logs there at the end. This year I will identify like the leaders of the committees and of the coalition, and I will actually do telephone key informant interviews with each of them. So that's the plan for this next year.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Anything else,
I
Julie?
just want to throw out 2 really quick things. So all these public schools did do the Iowa survey, but they also agreed to do our core measure survey again. While I'm cautiously optimistic about those halved numbers for use, the reality is kids were isolated just like everyone else, and alcohol and other things are very social. So we're gonna do those numbers again and see where we land. Ideally, they would stay there, but I don't it's such an odd year, I don't know what to do with those numbers, so we're doing it again to see where we stand. So we'll-
Right. COVID really kind of impacted all that data on all that.
As it impacted everybody that lives.
Yep, that's for sure.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thanks, Jim. Seems like a good program and it's working anyway.
Okay, Brent.
See you next year.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave.
Will reap the work they've done in the
Joe,
coming years.
What is this? Don't we need to sign the memorandum of understanding?
That's a historic preservation.
Or what?
No, Jackson County Prevention Coalition.
Do we need to sign this
No.
document?
Here, we did that, I thought.
It's blank.
That's what you sent to me.
Oh, so you have it on today's agenda,
Well,
the DFC evaluation memo of
I
understanding.
think you checked back to September, we already signed it. I'm sorry, it was attached for my file. I didn't mean. to
I
send
thought
it
we
out.
had.
You did.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
It was
so,
attached to the email from her, I'm sorry.
okay,
No, that was signed in September.
Okay. Good morning,
Good
everyone.
morning.
I'm here to ask the board to approve the signing of the probationary certificate of appointment for Wesley Yankee to become our newest part-time deputy. And I will, I guess if that's approved, then I will read a little bit about his bio and then proceed and we'll swear him in.
I would make a motion to approve.
I would second. You don't want to read that first and then.
I can. If you want. I'm not sure which order we want to do it.
I guess maybe I want to hear it first.
Okay, yep, that's fine, makes sense. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Wesley Yankee as our newest part-time deputy. He's sitting to my left of me here. Wesley is currently a full-time correctional officer for the Clinton County Sheriff's Office. He retired this spring from the Clinton Police Department after almost 30 years of service as a police officer. His police career includes many years as a school resource officer, working at elementary, middle, and high school levels. Wesley has specialized training including evidence collection, traffic crash investigations, and crisis negotiations. Wesley grew up in the Twin City area of Minnesota. He graduated from Columbia Heights High School and graduated from St. Cloud State University with a Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice Studies. Wesley enjoys many outdoor activities, including bicycling, camping, canoeing, hiking, and water and snow skiing. His hobbies include astronomy, model rocketry, and photography. Wesley loves to travel and spend time with his children, including Brian, 16, Claire, 16, Kylie, 22, she's in the room with us, and Austin, 24. Wesley's oldest two children, Kylie and Austin, Unky's mother, Melissa Schmidt, is also a Jackson County deputy, as you all know, and is our latest canine officer also. Today, Kylie will have the honor of putting Wesley's sheriff badge on his chest. She has just graduated from Dubuque University with her degree in psychology and is striving towards the goal of counseling first responders in her new career. So she'll be evaluating all of us today.
Soon to graduate.
A week.
December 16th.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing in this county.
Correcting your parents.
Let's go.
And the sheriff. I don't know. It's on me.
So with that, yeah, I would like to ask the board to approve Wesley's appointment as our newest part-time deputy and approve his certificate of appointment for this probationary period.
I reiterate my second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Alrighty. As you guys know, it's always important for me to read this for my new deputy's benefit. So the first of two important characteristics that distinguish the office of sheriff from other law enforcement units is its historical roots. In England, the sheriff came into existence around the 9th century. This makes the sheriff the oldest continuing non-military law enforcement entity in history. The elected sheriff is part of America's democratic fabric. It's more than a tradition, it's a constitutional requirement. The second characteristic that sets the sheriff's office apart from other law enforcement agencies is its direct accountability to the citizens through the election of the sheriff. The office of sheriff is not a department of county government. It is the independent office through which the sheriff exercises the powers of the public trust. No individual or small group hires or fires the sheriff or has the authority to interfere with the operations of the office. Elected sheriffs are accountable directly to the Constitution of their state, the United States Constitution, statutes, and the citizens of their county. The sheriff should naturally do his best to work with all entities because it is important in a democratic society. The sheriff must work with all segments of government to serve and protect the citizens of the county. The preservation of the office of sheriff is vital in our republic. Outside a few elected town marshals, the sheriff is the only head of a law enforcement agency in this nation that is accountable directly to the people of his or her jurisdiction. Each of us as sheriff can do our part to ensure our contribution to the preservation of this great office by following these principles. Remember those sheriffs who have served in our counties and across the nation before us. Build on their successes by learning from their mistakes. Always serve with integrity. Do not shirk the sheriff's responsibilities, duties, or management rights to other governmental entities, unions, or political influence. The sheriff alone stands directly accountable to the citizens for quality of service from the sheriff's office. No one fulfilled the sheriff's moral and statutory responsibilities. Not a mere formality, and an oath of office is a public pledge that the official understands the requirements of the position and will work to meet or exceed those requirements. Those taking the oath must fully consider the meaning of the oath and all its important implications. This is why the oath to the sheriff's office is so important to me. By deputizing someone, I'm entrusting they will not abuse their power and follow my intentions. We are entrusted by the public to do what is right, moral, ethical, and legal. We must set and lead by example in our community, both on and off duty, to ensure we never lose the public's faith and trust in us. To be disloyal to this oath is perjury. It means you not only have been disloyal to the sheriff's office, but more importantly, to your people. Never dishonor yourself or the principles of this office. So with that, I would ask that Wesley approach the flags up there. You stand and raise your right hand and swear them. I'm good on the back of the flag back there.
Like this now, if there's complaints on an older, tall deputy. I'm not the primary
You'd hear it if
suspect.
there was.
Okay, Wesley, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Wesley Yankee,
I, Wesley Yankee,
having been appointed a deputy sheriff of Jackson County
having been appointed a deputy sheriff to Jackson County
under Brent Kilberg, sheriff of said county,
under Brent Kilberg, sheriff of said county,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the state of Iowa,
and the Constitution of the state of Iowa,
and that I will faithfully and impartially,
and I will faithfully and impartially,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my abilities,
discharge all the duties of deputy sheriff
discharge all the duties of deputy sheriff
as now or hereafter required by law.
as now as hereafter required by law.
All right, congratulations. Yeah, Kylie, would you go up and pin him first? And then we'll get some pictures with family and with me. Wes, if you slide over to that side of the flags, and we'll get you centered on the flags there a little bit.
How about we switch, because this is my good side.
Whatever you guys want. Maybe that's Dad's bad side.
It's all about her.
She gets what she wants.
I'm the favorite.
What if this is my bad
I'm
side?
starting to see patterns.
Yeah, she's my daughter, you can tell, right?
I'm just, as long as you don't hit my chest with that pin.
Yeah, we don't want blood on that.
It'll show up well on the way.
Yeah,
I know how to stop.
yeah, she is a first responder herself. She works for the ambulance service. Thank you.
Pose together. All right, Melissa, jump up there too.
Congratulations.
Come over this side.
I would scoot over
There
a
we
little
go.
bit.
There's only so many
She's a
sides,
star.
guys. Good.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hold on.
Doesn't matter to me. Whatever's your good side.
All right.
Shake your hand and pull that together.
All
Good.
right. Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
These are,
All right, thanks, sir. Okay, I believe that's it for me for now, so. Get out of the way.
at this time, we'll be joined by Don Wentworth from the Jackson County Historic Preservation Commission.
Good morning. Morning, Don.
I'm here to present the partner site memorandum of understanding for the Silos and Smokestacks affiliation with the insane asylum. I don't know if you guys have a copy of the memorandum. So, you have any questions or anything that you'd like to ask?
So is there a change in what they'd like to name it or something, or what?
The change came from me because to look it up on their website, it's under historical insane asylum. There's nothing that says Jackson County when you're trying to look it up. So even on their site, I couldn't find it. So Candy told me what it was listed under. So I have initiated to change it from just historic insane asylum, which was done. I mean, that was done like the very first thing when they were trying to identify it and all that, to the Jackson County Insane Asylum so that people can more easily find it.
I tried to get a price on concrete the other day and I Googled that, I bet 3 or 4 times and finally it's like. Wait a minute.
No, yeah,
You bring up concrete, it brings all the concrete contractors up, but it doesn't bring up the cement. Just a glitch, I guess.
Yeah.
Operator error.
has anybody had a chance to go out and fix that door? Do you know?
I did.
Did you? Okay,
I
good.
didn't fix the door. I found a piece of plywood that fits in there. And it's in there, so nothing can get in it or any weather can get at it, but it does need a complete new door. There's just no salvage to it.
Right, yeah.
I'll get some measurements and see if I can't run down something at a later date.
Yeah, my concern, I was out there in the middle of October with Candy Welch Street and I don't know what direction you'd call that door. The one away from the road, the bottom half of it was basically gone.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to get that sealed up to keep all of the 4-legged and 2-legged critters out of there.
Well, there's one 4-legged critter that has permanently residing in the attic now.
Yes.
Had been there for a long time,
Yeah,
just a fur ball basically.
yeah. So, and that's another issue with that. It needs kind of a,
Some TLC.
well, because it's raccoon feces that have parasites in them, the cleanup has to almost be like hazmat type
Oh,
of
really?
thing. Because those parasites are very deadly, harmful to human beings. So you can't just go in and mop the floor, is what I'm told. You have to
I didn't even know that.
clean it up with
So
a,
be careful when you're there.
Well, I crawled through the broken thing to get in the thing. I'm not-
right, yeah. So that's, I mean, it needs a review.
Mhm.
And there are things that need to be, just to keep the elements and that kind of stuff out of it. So,
Does that qualify for grant funding too, as far as that goes, the cleanup and the restoration?
it might, it depends on what grants are available. You can check with Candy Welch Street to see what she would recommend as far as grants and things like that. Because she would like to see it cleaned up too. Because it's sitting there in the state of Iowa. It is almost unique. Like the jail, there just aren't stone insane asylums and jails of that era. They've been kind of bulldozed and things like that. So there's a lot of interest. We get a lot of inquiries about the jail, and which we don't, the county doesn't own, but We get a lot of inquiries about the jail and the insane asylum. People want touring and things like that. So there is interest there.
So any more movement on the jail being restored?
The mayor, Chris Fee, who is now not the mayor anymore, asked how to have a meeting with you guys, and we told him, and then since he was leaving office, nothing has been done. So now we have a different mayor, which I was told who it probably was, because nobody actually was elected, but there was somebody that said they would. I mean, this is what I'm told. You know, if you have a different version, that's fine, but that somebody we would be dealing with, that we have dealt with before on the annual council. So we're kind of, you know, backed up to the starting line. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was a couple months ago when Chris had emailed us, and I said we certainly would be willing to listen if they brought some kind of proposal or had something in mind. I also stated that we are trying to build a new jail, so there's fundings are limited as far as where we're at with that. So
Right, well, and you know, there's 1,000 different ways you can go with that Andrew jail as far as agreements and all of that kind of stuff. We would just like to get something down, again, keep the elements out, keep the critters out. I know at one time, you know, was like you saw, the water was running right from the outside into the basement. And it's, I mean, it's just, if all that can be done is mothballing the building, so no more deterioration, to save it so that at some future time, maybe something can be done, then that's, you know, that's all we can do. That's all we can do at this point, but a lot of things have to come together. to make
both
that happen.
structures are certainly unique, I will say that.
Yes, well, and from that era,
Right.
the only stone municipal building in the state of Iowa that I'm aware of is the stone courthouse in Dubuque, which was 1859. So that was about 12 years earlier than these two structures, but most of them, when they fell into disuse over time, they were bulldozed, raised, whatever. So you just don't have those. When I did research a few years ago on the jail, there were 7 limestone jails of that era in the entire United States. So it has a lot of interest. So
I know we had some plans for as a almost like a bed and breakfast type thing, where just a sleeping area and several different ones. And to me, that's an excellent way to put some money into it, because it would return good. And like you said, it's only one of 7 in the United States, and some people just for something to do would like to stay in an old jail.
right.
I think there's a market there for
Well,
it.
there's a uniqueness to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, but you know, in El Cater, they took their old stone jail and made it into a restaurant. So I mean, there's various things to do. The Airbnb idea came out of community meeting, and we do have plans, you know, they drew up plans for that, and that was the most popular choice, but there are other issues that have to be
Sure.
overcome. And of course, the first one, outside of making the plan, is who's gonna pay for it and who's gonna take care of it and all that. You know, Jack didn't want to be the one to run out there and change the sheets, so that was one obstacle.
I make a really good bed. So
Do you?
I couldn't come out without any problem. No one ever asked me.
But with, you know, and we've seen since COVID, with people have started traveling again, and yes, there is a need for like a bed and breakfast at Airbnb in Andrew, because it's a central point in the county. And they're just, you know, there isn't one at this point. So that's one of the things that we could do. And
It'll
with,
take a special group or a special person to
Oh, absolutely.
keep that moving forward. Yeah, it is very unique, and it would be really cool. Yeah.
Well, I think we'd be interested in looking at some numbers and, you know, at least to get a furnace and air conditioning in there to maintain the building.
yeah, they did have a dehumidifier in the basement, you know, with the water running in. They did, the last time I was down there, maybe you were with me, it was unplugged, you know, so you know, there's a lot of issues with that. The insane asylum, issues are a little bit different, but you still have like the climate control and things like that.
It's a big difference on how
Oh,
structure
absolutely.
is maintains itself.
Right, well, especially the wood parts, you know, in the jail, that north part of the sheriff's office, you can't step on the floor, you'll go right through it.
Mhm.
So that's, you know, one of the issues there.
So
You need action on this, Don?
The partner site agreement has to be signed by someone who is authorized. And I'm assuming that that's you guys, since you guys actually own the site.
You need action on the salary and smokestacks memorandum of understanding?
Yeah, I guess it needs to be, you guys have to accept it and agree to sign it. I don't know if that takes a motion
Yes,
on
it
your
does.
part.
We're making the motion to approve and have the signatures as required.
We'll second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.
Okay. Do you need a copy or do you have? You must have the original.
Mine has holes in it.
I have
So-
the original.
Oh,
Oh, you have it, okay.
Yep.
Luann will make sure that we get it signed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yep, you too.
Happy Thanksgiving, I guess it's called. huh?
Hmm?
Happy Thanksgiving is called.
Yeah, I guess.
Everybody but the turkey.
There's a lot of them.
You did. Just a little.
Okay, at this time, we'll welcome for the first time at our meeting, Kelly Brown, the new director of the Jackson County Economic Alliance, and David Heyer, our advisor.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and he's not new. At anything.
I did not say that.
Yeah, but thanks, Jack. But appreciate the opportunity, first of all, to introduce Kelly. I know all of you have actually either met her in person or by Zoom in some cases, but it's good to have an in-person meeting. And we'll just do a quick kind of update or overview of some of the things we've been working on in our office. I did make a hard copy of our bi-monthly report that we just gave to the board last week at our meeting. So Jack, here's another copy of it for you.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to go through everything that's on this report. You can certainly do that. And if you have questions, get back to us. But there are a few things that we did want to kind of maybe highlight for you. And one of those is that this is the time of year we can apply for a catalyst grant for communities. And you've already seen some of the catalyst grants and the impact they've had on the county, because we have been fortunate to receive 6 catalyst grants in the last few years, which includes the Button Factory in Bellevue, which includes the 110 South Main project here in Macokota, which is the Macokota Brewery. So if you don't know where 110 is, that's where it's at. And the Mitchell Mastery Mill is also a catalyst project. We have a couple going in Sebula. One is what used to be the Ackerman grocery store, which is getting renovated at this point. And then one that hasn't quite started yet, but we have funding for, is the construction of a new restaurant in the Marina area down the south end of town. And then Preston also has received a catalyst grant for what was the Preston Times building. Is currently a vacant building because it's just not habitable, but hopefully with this $100,000 grant, we can turn that around and salvage that building. But the reason I call this to your attention is because if you are aware of any community, I mean, and we have put feelers out, and in fact, Kelly just sent out an email this week to the mayors and clerks of the small communities. But if you personally are aware of some building that you think we should be following up on and just personally inviting or talking to them about it, please call that to our attention. The nice thing about this program, first of all, it's geared to smaller communities. So that's pretty much every community in Jackson County, but communities of 1,500 or less even get a special allocation. So 40% of the money that's spent from this program has to go to communities at 1,500 or less. So again, we so far have been 6 for 6 in submitting applications for this particular program. And the state, the gentleman we work with at the state actually had reached out to me and said, so are you guys gonna submit anything this year? We don't really, we're not thinking of anything right now, but
So we have a jail and asylum that we'd like to get on that list if we can.
and again, I don't know about the asylum because it's not in a community, because this has to be, and generally they're looking at downtown projects. The exception we have is the marina in Sebula, and we had to kind of do a special song and dance for that one and talk to the director of the department to say, hey, this is a great project and doesn't check all your boxes, but we just think this would be really good in Sebula. And she agreed and said that she would use it as an emergency grant for us so that she could be more flexible with the rules and regulations. But we can certainly,
The jail is right in the middle of Andrew.
Yeah.
yeah.
So, and it is an emergency.
So we could certainly take a look at that and do some floaters on it. The challenge is going to be there has to be some local match. And the other challenge here might be that it's not going to increase I should increase the tax value. We're assuming it's going to continue to be publicly owned, correct? Or is
So
that
if it goes to a rental thing, would you charge your room? I mean, if you rent it for a night, do you pay tax on that rental?
You'd certainly pay hotel and motel tax if there is one. I don't think there is, Andrew, but yeah.
I mean, some kind of tax, don't you? Or not?
Well, in conversations that I've had with the assessor's office, because we had some of that conversation with the project with the Macocata Art Experience building, which will soon be owned by a nonprofit. So the bottom level, which is the art experience portion, may not be taxable, but because there's income producing property on the upper stories, it will be taxable. Is what I was verbally told at least.
So what about economic impact? I mean, if you
So,
do jail thing
potentially this
and
could
rent
be
it
a
out.
profit also,
Yeah, so let me do some checking
Discussion,
on
yeah.
that.
I mean, that would be a great start for that if it like that would come about, then you could have some match. I mean, we'd be willing to match and the city would be willing to be, I mean, then you could still do it as a nonprofit.
I believe the American Rescue Fund could be used for a match for that. And we can find out, I can find out from Jamie or Lucas about that. So, I mean,
I know that I had called this program to the Historical Society's attention a few years ago maybe like 3 years ago, when there was a lot of conversation about this building, but they weren't quite there yet at that point. But let me go back and
My
take a look
guess
at
is
my
that the
notes.
historical convention did not follow up with that. That's my guess.
Yeah, and I don't, you're gonna need to have. Is it owned by the city at this point?
Yes.
Okay.
and that conversation has been had several times about turning it over to the county or.
Yeah, it might be advisable to talk to Chris Fay about it, who's the current mayor
Sure, right.
till the end of the year.
So talk fast.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I made a note here and we will follow up on that and see if that's at all a possibility. But if you have other thoughts, please share those with beyond today. Please share those with us too.
I don't know if you've seen the floor plan layout that they did for adding the restrooms and stuff out there. I mean, there's some preliminary work has been done.
I have some information in a file. I'd have to go back and take a look. It's been a while since I've been involved in
It
any
was just
conversation.
a thought.
Pardon me?
It was just a thought.
Yeah, I mean, if there's money out there, it's.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
We'd hate to have you not apply for something.
When they're
Exactly.
calling you up and asking you, it's like, okay, we can find something here. So.
There's another program, I'm gonna have Kelly talk a little bit about this, but I again, a couple of different funding sources, but there's a lot of emphasis on doing upper story renovation, creating apartments in downtown areas. So Kelly, I'll let you talk a little bit about.
Yeah, and we aren't gonna have a problem not submitting a grant for something. So that's not gonna be an issue. There's a lot of interesting grants out there right now that I think that we could really be taking advantage of. And to that point, we have been trying to market these out to the smaller cities of all sizes, because and with the upper story grants, there actually are 2 of them that are available. There's a CDBG CV, that's the COVID grant, that is, it's a non-competitive grant, which is an advantage. It does require a COVID component, but I think we all can agree we can find that in about everything these days. So that's not an issue. And it's just basically if you meet the qualifications. Now, the one of the qualifications is, however, that you have to rent to LMI, or at least have 51% of the people renting the apartments would be qualified as LMI. The other grant, which is a downtown housing grant, does not have the LMI component. It is a competitive grant, and the deadline for that is the end of January. So for both of those grants, we actually have somewhat good prospect in Bellevue. We have 2 good prospects in Sevilla, and we're working on one here in Macokota as well. And we're just trying to work through the basis of both qualifications for both grants to determine which one would be best suited for each one of those applicants. So,
But again, if you're aware of some of the, particularly some of the smaller communities, because we generally get, when we send emails, we generally get responses from the larger communities saying, can't think of anything, or here's something to follow up on. But with some of the small communities, even though we send out the information, we don't always hear back. But if you're aware of something in some of these small communities, please call that to our attention. One of the other things I wanted to make you aware of is some of the efforts that we're doing. And I know that you all toured Innovate 120, or the former US Bank building, this summer when they were doing their summer internship program. And thank you for taking time to do that. But I think, we're just kind of really scratching the surface with Robert on the potential of that building and what he himself will bring to this community. So we're looking at and working with ECIA on a USDA grant and a rural innovation grant. And just today we got some information on an employer innovation grant that Robert's going to follow up on. So we're looking at opportunities for 2 things. Some is for physical improvements to the interior of the building, some of the renovations that need to be done. And then some of it's for programming, some of the types of things that he would like to do inside, as far as making this basically a business startup center, and also for existing businesses too, but particularly for entrepreneurs or startup businesses, the place for them to be going. He was in Macokota last week, and so we spent, I think we had 4 meetings with him and other groups as we're trying to get him introduced to others in the community. And we're also looking at ways to kind of partner that with the Button Factory in Bellevue to see if there are ways to collaborate. Some of the things that are happening there with Bellevue Big and the high school, and Alan Ernest, because that was kind of part of his original vision too, but it's getting the person to manage it. And I think Robert could be that person. So we're trying to open some of those doors. He spent a part of the week that we weren't directly involved with in reaching out to the schools, high schools locally, because of the very last page of that packet of information I gave you, talks about Startup 120. And so that's something that he wants to do starting in January. So he's trying to get interest from each of the schools, whether it be student teams involved in basically learning what it takes to start up a business. And so there'd be like 10 or 12 weeks of educational programming to talk about starting up a business. And then at the very end, there'd be a pitch contest where the schools will compete against each other within Jackson County. And they could have a couple of teams from a school, or a team, hopefully, from each of the 4 high schools in Jackson County. And he's throwing in $1,000 as a prize of money for whoever wins this pitch contest. So again, trying to get young people involved in the process and to think on a entrepreneurial kind of level. So I just think again, that's just one of the big things he's trying to do there, and it's an exciting opportunity, and this will evolve as we go along. You know,
Well, last year was extremely, I was very impressed with what those young people did.
and he's hoping to repeat that again this coming summer with a paid internship for high school students. This time around, he's hoping to get the word out sooner so that we don't have to scramble at the last minute like we were doing this past year. There's another newer program that the state has introduced called Manufacturing 4.0. And I'm gonna again let Kelly tell you a little bit about that, but just want you to know that, you know, normally during October, we would celebrate Manufacturing Month and we'd be doing tours with students. Well, with COVID, we probably couldn't have done some of that anyhow, but really with the staffing at this point, that it just wasn't going to work for us to do what we had done in the past. But what we did do was try to make sure that all of our industries, our manufacturing industries, were aware of this new program because there's some grant opportunities for that. So I'll let Kelly tell you a little bit about the 2 tiers of Manufacturing 4.0.
Thank you. Manufacturing 4.0 is based on the directive that came down from the governor that it's on the industry 4.0, which says that we want to do what we can do to help mitigate the effects of the lack of workforce, and then also increase the robotics automation in the different manufacturing sectors. So she set up 2 different levels of grant opportunities. The first is they can get a $75,000 grant if they have up to 75 employees. And the other one is 75 to 250 employees. They can get actually up to $500,000, depending on the scope of the amount of investment that they want to put into furthering the automation and potential robotics in their companies. So, and we actually have one that we're working with right now that for me is pretty exciting. I get to both learn about some of the industry that we have in our area, and it's a different kind of grant as well. That deadline actually is December 31st. The smaller grants have been working through Cirrus that you're familiar with, and they're actually helping them with those grant opportunities where we're directly involved in this one to try to work through the logistics of facilitating that grant application being able to be completed on time. But as I've read more and more about this, it's very exciting that they are trying to come up with more creative, efficient ways of being able to accomplish the same thing without having the effects of the decrease in our workforce. You know, this particular industry, I was running numbers yesterday, has lost over $1 million just in the last year and a half because of the effects of the lack of workforce, of having to bring in new employees and the employees leave, from having to pay an additional $3 an hour for the starting wage. You know, and you take that times 205 employees over the course of the last year and a half, and that's a lot of money. You know, so if they can come up with more innovative ways that, you know, we're not taking jobs away from people, but we're just finding the gap to be able to produce more with the same amount of people. So you're not taking jobs away, but being able to then produce a product that is more efficient, more cost effective, that
Increases the bottom line.
right, absolutely.
So we know that at least 4 of our smaller industries are working with Cirrus to try to tap into the $75,000 grant. And Kelly's been working with one of our larger industries. And again, sometimes it just takes a little extra help, staff time from our office. And Kelly's been great with doing that with this local industry, because they don't have the expertise or background to write some of these grants. And yet there could be some tremendous rewards from some of these grants toward their bottom line, as you say. So, so that's been our focus during not only manufacturing month, but it will be through the end of this year as we try to work with them to see if they can qualify and tap into some of this grant money that's available. I know that all of you sat in on some of the original, I'm shifting gears here, by the way, on some of the original Zoom meetings that we had with Cirrus as we were taking a look at workforce, that some of that was earlier this calendar year. And again, the program called iWin, and again, we're the second county in Iowa to be participating in this program. But the intent was that Cirrus would help us take a more deeper dive into some of the workforce issues and try to help local businesses and industries get a better foothold for what could make them more competitive, or what things that they could maybe change to make their place of employment more desirable. And so the second part of that survey, because many people filled out, businesses filled out the initial survey, but there was a part two, and we just got the results back on that last week. And there were 5, I guess, things that kind of floated to the top from local industries. Wages and benefits are definitely at the top of this survey, saying that that's really what they think is creating a lot of turnover or challenges for them not to be able to hire folks. Having expertise, learning, or training of individuals, job opportunities within the business, so that people have an opportunity to kind of move up on the ladder. Childcare was one of the other challenges. Work schedule was 5th, and then culture is something that particularly our manufacturing industries identified as a concern or an issue. So we've shared that information with Cirrus, and we're hoping to have a final report from them before the end of this calendar year. And part of the benefit of this program from our perspective is that then we will have a year of assistance from Cirrus to kind of hone in on some of these things that they've identified to help specifics with local industries to see how we might be able to assist them. And then the very last thing I just want to share with you, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time, just want you to have an idea of what we're working with. I know we've talked about this before, but we're in a partnership with the University of Iowa. Jack, we've seen all this, but here's another copy. On the Sustainable Communities Initiative. And this is an opportunity for us to get input from university students who are working on their degrees or their master's degrees on various projects. And this year, there will be at least 15 projects. And this year, I'm talking about school year, so starting in August of this year through May of next year. There'll be at least 15 projects that will have student help on it. And you can see the top part of this shows we'll actually have 16 projects that will be confirmed, but we're still working on several others. So there'll be probably more than 15 projects that will be part of this project where we're getting student help or input on projects. And their goal from the university's perspective is that, we can do some engineering, but we want to do some community planning. We want to do some marketing. We want to do some things with the arts or history. So many of these projects are in partnership with local communities, but some of them are in partnership with local nonprofits. There is a fee, obviously, for these services, and we have entered into a contract with the university for this. So each of these communities or nonprofits will be picking up a part of that cost, trying to prorate it out. Initially, when we were thinking there were going to be 15, it was going to be about $3,500 per project, but that might be less if we have more projects, and the more we can squeeze in, the better. So if you have any, and I know I'm just giving this to you today, but if you want to know more information about any of these projects, please feel free to reach out to our office. We'll share what we can with you about those, but just know that we are very involved in this. And from our office perspective is we're just trying to help facilitate and coordinate some of these things. There's a lead person for each of these projects from each of the communities for the nonprofits. So questions, comments, other thoughts from any of you?
I just was talking about workforce. Our Mississippi Valley Regional Workforce Development got notified yesterday that the governor called a special meeting of our governing board for December 3rd because of the high rate of unemployment in, I believe it's Lee and Henry County, with Scott County falling right behind them with the unemployment rate. So it's going to be on Friday the 3rd in West Burlington at the office there. Townsend's going to be there, and someone from the governor's office, it didn't say who was going to be there. And then the CEOs from the 8 counties are all supposed to be in attendance. So I'll be going down to West Burlington for that meeting to
So
see.
Jack, do they know what might be causing that higher rate? Because most places now have unemployment rates that are equal to pre-COVID.
Well, I don't know. Lee County, I know has I think their unemployment rate is over 9%. And Henry County, I'm not sure, but they want to see what the workforce board can do to try to alleviate some of that issue. So I'll know more on the evening of the 3rd or the morning of the 4th.
Well, you can let them know that we have a lot of employers who are looking for work employees, so a long commute, but they could move here.
Well, they say that there's 88,000 job openings in Iowa, so.
Right.
So I'm not sure what exactly the governor is expecting or is going to, their office is going to share with us, but I can let you know after I get back.
Okay, I'd be curious to know what happens at that meeting, so.
Hey, Kelly, is this the same group that we had talked about even studying our solar? Some of our
I think
buildings.
some of that is being done with the Energy District
Right.
project through the Jackson County Energy District.
Right.
And back there, they have a Zoom meeting coming up. Obviously not this week, but I don't know if it's the end of next week or if it's the beginning of I think it's the beginning of the following, early December. With the students who are working on that project to, I'm gonna sit in on it just to get a better
Well, we
feel
asked
for
them when they were talking about it is if they could look at the floor plan of our jail since it's not built. And see if they could give us a cost estimate for the solar panels and then some kind of information about what the savings would be between just regular electricity and solar. And it sounded like they were going to do that, but
I got the impression that they were gonna be looking at county and municipal buildings
Buildings,
in general.
yeah.
But
but we wanted them to add
sure.
the unbuilt
Oh, okay,
jail
all right.
into that
Yeah, this
process.
isn't-
We're trying to save space out there. We also got the numbers from Delaware County, so we can kind of know where we're at.
Sure.
Maybe.
Well,
Same type of
and
stuff.
we have a meeting this afternoon, a Zoom meeting this afternoon with the director who is kind of managing it on
Sure,
their
sure.
end with all these projects. So I will specifically ask what he knows.
That'd be
about this,
great.
but,
Because I told them we did have a floor plan here for the building if they needed to see square footage, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
Okay.
Other thoughts, comments?
Who's going to divide up and decide who pays what and how do we pay?
That'll be coming through our office. Once
So
we
you
know.
make the determination who's gonna pay what?
Yes.
Well, then you need to know that as a board.
Yeah.
Is that based on the benefit of, or the amount of time they?
Well, some of these are 2-semester projects, so they're gonna be more than just a 1-semester project. Some of these, a few of these with the city of Macokota, this year or this semester. It's actually one class that's doing 3 or 4 of them, and so obviously it's gonna be one versus multiple things. But I don't know that the county has signed an agreement. The energy
These are all
district
pretty
has-
much municipalities here though, correct? I mean.
the energy district has a couple of these. But I think you're part of whatever their initiative is, but they're the ones who made the commitment. And I don't know what if you made a commitment to them, that would be between you and them, but yeah.
Well, they were in last week or 2 weeks ago
Okay.
and discussed it, so we know that they're going to be looking at studying. I think Lisa's just looking at budget wise, what we have allocated and whether that's gonna be sufficient.
So number 2 is the Jackson County Energy Plan, and part of it was focused on Springbrook, but they had it was a 2-part thing, and I don't see that actually listed here, but the second part was to take a look at municipal building kinds of things. So let me get more clarification on that, but again, this commitment we were getting with the Jackson County Energy Group, we didn't have an agreement specifically with the county, but hopefully they work something out with you. I think they have some of their own money, but I think they were hoping. to get
Well, he
some.
definitely asked us for some money. so
Okay, all right.
We know what he wants, so we'll go from there.
All right.
All
Well,
right,
thank you.
good to see you again, Kelly.
And Kelly, I'll be in touch with you about our sit-down.
Okay, great, thank you,
Welcome aboard.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And a good Thanksgiving.
Happy to.
Okay, Lisa.
Yeah, okay. This morning, I need a motion to approve the minutes of the November 16th, 2021 board proceedings as written by Auditor Smith and authorized publication in the official newspaper.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. All those in favor? Aye, motion carried.
Motion needed to approve and authorize the auditor's office to issue warrants in the publication of the claims listing in the amount of $310,311.90.
Move to approve with the note that we're still paying for some of our infrastructure, bridges and whatnot. So
Absolutely.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the claims. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
I also wanted to make sure that I presented to you the letter from County Attorney Sarah Davenport. She is requesting $36,000 in ARPA funds to pay for the 5-year contract to the iCrime Fighter Program. So I included that in today. You can read through that. I just wanted you to know that she is requesting those funds, and we can make a decision at a later date.
is that program outlined in one of the stuff that we got in our packet?
I'm going to say no, because I
No.
I was in Des
I didn't
Moines
see
last
it.
week, and this was on my.
Well, I'm
agenda
certainly
back,
gonna have
so-
to read over what it all includes before.
Correct, yeah, I can't honestly, I can't answer any of those questions. And just as a side note, I want you to know that on Monday, November 29th, here at 6:30 at the community room, we will start our process for re-precincting and redistricting of Jackson County. So 6:30, I've got the 5 temporary commission members on board. We're gonna come and we're gonna start talking about re-precincting and redistricting of Jackson County. So just a FYI.
So we finally have the numbers.
Well, yeah, we're gonna try and do this as fast as we can. Since I did say I was in Des Moines last week, there was quite a discussion. I have other things to consider now, and it'll be interesting to see what the decision of the commission is. And that's all that I have for the board today.
Okay, Luann Goki, our administrative assistant.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay. On the calendar for today, I do have an agenda with you, Jack, at inpatient psychiatric, but I haven't received any information, so I don't think they're doing it. Wednesday, November 24th, tomorrow, all the state offices will be closed, including court. The county offices will still be open tomorrow. But then on Thursday and Friday, the 25th and 26th, the entire courthouse will be closed those 2 days. So happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Here we go.
All right, Monday, November 29th at 4 p.m. is an early childhood Iowa council meeting in DeWitt for Jack. And on Tuesday, November 30th, our next regular meeting will be at 9 a.m. that morning. So I'm looking this morning for some action on 2 appointments. The first is the appointment of Jim Wachtel, I believe, to the Civil Service Commission for a 6-year term expiring 8/31/2027.
and his information, bio and stuff was in our.
It's under appointments.
Yep.
Yes,
Yep.
under the appointment tab.
I didn't really get a chance to look it over, but I know he's well qualified and so make that motion to appoint.
Second.
A motion and a second, to appoint, Mr. Wachtel. All those in favor? Aye, motion carried. I think he'll be a really good addition. I know Jim. He'll do a good job.
Yeah, he's been involved in the public development and also for, since he's moved there too.
Mhm.
And I did run it past Sarah, and she said this will keep that board gender balanced and politically balanced, which it needs to be.
Heaven
So
forbid not.
we do our best.
Yep.
The second appointment is the appointment of Elizabeth Townsend, our health administrator, as Larry's alternate on the IRIS board.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried.
All I had for you today.
I thought I saw Elizabeth walk down the hall, maybe she's waiting outside.
She's
And you guys know that Kimberly was your alternate. I guess I didn't realize that. I just jumped on to listen
Yeah,
to
she
the
was.
Dressler edition thing and Larry was at another meeting, so he had another appointment. That's why I was listening in. They asked me if Elizabeth would be interested. Well, I said, I think maybe so, but I just texted her the process and she was more than happy to be involved.
At this time, we'll recess till we find Elizabeth. At this time, we'll reconvene and we're joined by Elizabeth Townsend, our Jackson County Board of Health Director. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So this report just is from September 14th until present time. The office has been extremely busy with last minute septic installations, a lot of well permits. We've seen a huge increase this year in our well and septic permitting. It's actually been an increase of close to 15% compared to previous years. So, which tells us there's a lot of construction going on in the county. This year to date, we've had 39 well permits, 60 septic permits. We've done a lot of water testing, which is another thing we've been really busy doing. Let's see, we've had 2 well closures just since I've been on. We're currently at 9 bite reports, and these are just from September till now. But, and 12 time of transfer reports. So it's been really busy. It's starting to wind down though, and I'm going to be inputting our wells into the PWTS system, which is kind of time consuming. And then I will be putting everything that Kimberly had, all of our documents into electronic versions. So again, just really time consuming stuff that as soon as these last minute septics get put in, hopefully I'll be able to do that. I'm gonna start looking for possible programs like I mentioned before for us, I know that some other counties have like a system they can put everything in, so it's just easier to find, like a database type thing.
Sure, different words.
Yeah, because right now we don't have one, so, and I'm not really sure as far as files that were put in storage, if those need to come back out and get put into that or not. So,
So with that being said, is this something that you do yourself? Or can that be farmed out and like we talked about digitizing a lot of our records? Is that something that be farmed out that maybe we could use some of our ERP money?
I'm gonna say possibly yes. I have myself and County Recorder Arlene Shaw have done a Zoom meeting with a company specifically talking about digitizing records. And we would be asking for ARPA money for that. And I would think that we could probably,
I just think it's a great
Tag on.
idea if you could get that done
yeah,
without a burden on you.
yeah.
The offices that are trying to get work done is huge. That's what it's there for to me.
yeah, because it's a huge, I mean, there's stuff going 3 years back that hasn't been put in digitized, so it's quite a bit. It's,
We don't have a copy of that, though, do we?
no, I can actually,
no,
I can
that's
email to you. This is actually just from the Board of Health meeting, so I'm just kind of.
Yeah, just email
With a few updates. Okay.
I think that as I took you on tour in the basement, and we didn't, I think you would have a lot of information also. We're just full of paper, and the sooner that we can get some of this digitizing done, the better off we would be. And I don't know if you can contact the company as far as what you're thinking about. I know we've contacted the company.
That would come in and do it.
And maybe they could also do the.
Well, that's what I'm
Right,
wondering.
so sometimes they, yeah, right, so when you purchase a program like that, sometimes they'll offer to do it, and obviously it costs more, but I don't know if the county, like you said, are they looking at one individual?
Well, we had our first meeting with this company and just to kind of get a feel for what's going on and, honestly, I didn't know. And we're not
Well,
done.
If you meet
Yeah.
again,
Yeah, we'll
maybe
just
you
include you.
include Elizabeth. so
Obvious
she
that
could-
would qualify for, keeping people apart, separation, if you can look for it without coming in and physically getting it from you or something.
Yes.
yeah.
That
Right,
does qualify.
It does
That's
qualify
It
for
does
the-
qualify. That is very clear.
For the
Yes.
CARES funds,
Mhm, it
okay,
does.
okay.
Yes.
so it wouldn't have to come out of your budget. It would come out of
Right.
that.
Well, that's the thing, and that was the other piece. I know we're already starting to work on our budget for next year, and it's like, I know that funds are, possibly tight in areas, and I know that.
We like the idea of construction, that means revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, but no, if
Yeah, we'll talk.
okay. That sounds good.
Just keep her abreast of what's happening, and I know you will.
Yeah, no, we're
And,
definitely, we want to move
Give you
forward
an
with this.
opportunity to listen to their program and see what they can do to help. If they can come in and do it, all the better. That leaves you to your job without
Right.
having to do all that.
Well, there's that, and I know Kimberly had put a lot of stuff in storage, and we're paying for that storage. I'm not really sure why, because we have quite a bit of room downstairs, but.
Here's what I'm gonna tell you. From an auditor's perspective, and I know I just got done saying we have a lot of paper here. But we'd kind of like to have it back too.
Mhm.
I mean, and I've talked to Shelley about that
So
because
it's
we have
off-site,
issues with
is it?
Glacier Lake. Yeah, it
It's
is.
off-site, so if I want to find a record, I have to go in and do a request.
So where
for
is
that.
it?
I'm not sure, but I got an email from I didn't even know that our records were in storage. I'm guessing maybe probably somewhere in Dubuque or something. I know there's record storage up there.
I was thinking.
There's
I would think
some
Cedar
records
Rapids.
of Leisure Lake at ECIA.
Okay.
As issues come up specifically to Leisure Lake. I was thinking of Cedar Rapids, but I couldn't.
Yeah, but that might be it
Okay.
too. I'm not.
I'm not 100% on that either, but we're thinking it would be well worth a drive to get them picked up and bring them back.
Right, there's a process to requesting the records, because they, so many days and they release it. But it's like even just this morning, I got a call, somebody was requesting records for a home that they're looking at purchasing, and I don't have, because it wasn't put into the system electronically, I don't have the ability to access those records. So I guess they shouldn't have been stored unless they were just, we weren't using them for some reason.
Can they get any of that information like from the assessor's office?
Probably not. It's all like maps and of septic systems, like the kind of
Oh,
system
okay.
that was installed, you know, there, some of it's well information that maybe wasn't inputted into the DNR website.
I'm sure that goes back from anything and further yet. even
Yeah,
you
probably
know.
could.
Well, we weren't really sure of the clarity of the records either that were digitized, and I guess that was, I mean,
Yeah, well, there was
that was
probably
a
so,
concern.
there was probably so many of them, it was just an overwhelming, you know, process to go through, so they probably said, okay, we're gonna start putting them in now, and then they just like kept them.
So were they digitized before they were moved?
No.
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 So they came and physically came and picked up the files, took them to the site, and I still think it's Cedar Rapids.
Was
Yeah.
that okay by this board or the health board or?
It wasn't from us.
I don't recall.
I had no
separating it,
idea
yeah.
that there was records off-site.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm actually not sure what the law is in Iowa as far as for environmental health records. I know some other states require them to be a paper copy to be held on to permanently. You cannot destroy those files, so I'll have to do some checking, but yeah, I mean, we definitely, something needs to happen as far as the record storage and being able to have it digitized, because otherwise digging through papers is
Yeah.
not fun.
Well, with the technology we have today, why wouldn't we?
Well, and we don't want the public to think this person contacted you, think, well, I don't have any of those records, you know, what are they gonna think? Why not? So I think it's important to try to get some of that done and get those records back in our possession.
Yeah, I agree. Let's see, what else? So we were a little bit behind on our grants to county, on our well grant, just because it started July 1, and then I came on towards the end of August, so there was 2 months that we missed for like water testing and that, so we're a little bit behind, but I'm trying to get caught up in just testing water and you know, with well repairs, making sure people are submitting that to the grant for reimbursement. So just trying to, I guess, talk to people and explain to them, send them the paperwork so that they have that, so they know what to do.
I was really happy with mine.
Good. Good.
Oh, I haven't had any phone calls at all, and that is a good thing.
Good.
So you're-
Yes,
you're doing
amen.
very well.
Okay, good, thank you.
We have people singing your praises.
Really?
Yeah.
That's great. Well, it's been, I mean, working for the county has been really great so far, and I've just made a lot of connections with people, probably because I'm a native to the area, but it's working out really well for me, so,
That's great.
yeah. Let's see what else.
Elizabeth, I don't think it could be 2,700. I think, I see there's some $2,700 for contract labor. I'm wondering if that's it.
Well, they didn't put that, did they put that in for this year?
No.
Yeah, they have
that's
that
what,
in.
well, no, that's what got paid. That got paid. 2,700 has been paid so far. That's what was,
And that was for the
budgeted.
records?
well, it says contract labor. I wonder if that's where it came out of from this line item.
Okay.
There's no other big expenditure that I can see.
Yeah, because I was looking back when I was working on my budget yesterday, and I was
Yeah.
like, I wasn't really sure what that was for, and I couldn't find a budget note
I'm
for
thinking
it.
that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if I even look back for budget notes last year, I bet it says she was one done to digitize a bunch of stuff.
I think we did talk about it.
Okay. Let's see, other thing, I'm gonna be looking to get a new GPS device for getting our coordinates for our wells and a few other things. Currently, we have a device, but it's missing all of the pieces.
Are you talking about the gizmo?
I'm not sure that's what it's called.
Yeah,
Is it?
that's it.
Yeah,
There's
it's
something missing?
there's a bunch of pieces missing. And the only reason I know that is because there was not instructions with it. So I looked it up online and I found the manual and it showed the different, versions of it, the different models, and I'm missing many, many pieces.
So do we need to look in the trunk or?
It's not in the trunk.
Was everything in a box?
There was a few
box.
pieces in a box,
Okay.
but we're missing pieces. So I thought about either trying to look around for those pieces. I know they're not in the vehicle. Maybe another department had, maybe somebody thought they were like part of a computer. I don't know, but I know that device itself is very expensive. Because it's
So why don't-
professional
Why
grade.
don't we do this, look up that device and look at your map and see what you need and see what the new pieces would cost before buying a whole unit.
Yeah, well, I don't want to buy a whole new unit because I was looking at the prices of them and they're well over $2,000. And we really want to get something that's, you know, a good grade, I
Yeah,
guess.
right.
Because if I went to, you know, like a sporting goods store and got one that's, you know, handheld for somebody that's hunting or, you know, anything like that, it's not as accurate. We really
Right.
need that accuracy.
We want something that's friendly.
Yeah.
It seems to me that Kimberly was using her phone to do some of that.
So I have been, but I just recently had a case at Leisure Lake where I really want to make sure that I'm getting those coordinates
Exactly.
right on the dot, because when I input those and then I give that permit to the well driller, they can say, hey, well, this is what the coordinates said. So I'm guessing that, I mean, the coordinates that I'm getting right now, they can be off by 3 yards, which is not what we want. And
No.
right now, what we're dealing with at Leisure Lake is nobody knows where their property lines are. So right now, moving forward with Leisure Lake, anybody that wants a well, I'm gonna have to require them to get a survey so that we know where the property lines are, because apparently there's been some wells that were put in place prior to my coming on board that are right on the road.
Hmm.
So we want to put a stop to that. And then talking about, you know, updating our ordinance and things like that, that's something too that we would want to work with Leisure Lake on doing, so.
So a friend of mine sold her house out there and we went out to pick up some stuff or whatever. She says, this is interesting. And she walks me in the back room and there is the wellhead inside the building.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's just, okay. And I don't know what the address is, but if I look on a map, I can recognize where it is and I'll let you know because it's there, but it's under a roof, so you never.
Was there like a skylight up above it so you could pull the well?
I think there was.
Some people use flexible pipe. I had an uncle that had one at his house. He used 8-foot pipe, so he could take it for 8 foot time.
Yeah.
So what happened to the information that was done by a summer intern several years ago? Because we specifically located
Oh,
all
he
of the
did all them
green,
wells. That's,
all of the green.
Sure we
turtle
did.
lids.
It's all mapped.
So
Yeah,
do you have that information?
I have no clue. I would have to look.
okay, he did pretty much all of Leisure Lake and some in Bellevue too.
He started working on dressers, but Leisure Lake got done. So all of those turtle lids were all located.
So that's that's for the septic.
That's for the septic.
Yes,
I think
yes.
that was.
I think he was doing wells too.
So the wells, if I go on to the PWPS site, I can see, strangely enough, if I go into the DNR website to input these wells or to issue a permit, Leisure Lake is completely covered by a cloud, like literally on the map, all of Leisure Lake.
Really?
Right, so it's like, what?
I can believe that there's a
I'm
cloud.
not
over
kidding.
Leisure Lake.
And the weird thing is
It's
that
called the bride.
the cloud stops at the road from it's the strangest thing, I'm not kidding. So anyway, I'm like, this
Would there be a card or a drive in that gizmo thing? Is there an insert computer chip or anything in there that you can pull records out of there?
no.
Okay.
There's some way to Bluetooth it, but I think we're missing that.
Certainly has to be documented, though, all the work he did. I mean,
Yeah.
they
He
really,
spent
he really
months
did a lot of
doing
work
that.
up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he
He
did.
spent all summer.
And he was good at it.
He was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, something definitely happened in the last couple of years or so, because there are well heads literally by the road. And they're on Leisure Lake property, not the homeowner's property. And it's not good because, you know, they're gonna plow the road and I don't wanna be issuing a permit for, you know, something that's not on a person's
absolutely.
property.
So are they
Absolutely.
actually there? Or is the grid off enough where they're beside the road?
They're
they're actually
actually
there.
there.
They're actually in the road.
Yeah, like right on the property line. And the situation that I just ran into this week was that or last week, there's not a lot of room for them, the rigs to get in there. And so I'm guessing, because I don't think that one of the sanitarians passed here would have issued a permit for right on the road. I think what's happening is the driller is not able to get their rig where they want it without the possibility of it tipping over or getting it stuck. And so they're just putting it in the closest location that they can think to get it. So there needs to be high level monitoring with these wells being put in over there. So.
Well, with that being said, we appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank
You're
you
doing
for
your
all your
job and
efforts.
following up with that, yeah.
Sure. Well,
And get with Lisa and
We're gonna have to do some
the
further
gizmo.
looking.
I certainly know where the intern, we could find the intern too, and he was.
Whatever you need to do.
Yeah,
You
we have
need
his
to do
name
it.
somewhere and
Okay.
you can contact him and just know if he put in.
okay, yeah, I'll go and look now that I am aware of it. So
Because they were talking about overlaying that on GIS on the map, so.
He may be the last
That's
one
why
that
it's
had
there.
used the gizmo, unless Heather had used that too somewhere, but.
yeah, it's missing pieces. So, but yeah, maybe it's a possibility they're around somewhere, or they can just be purchased individually, because I know the device is really expensive. I mean, I'm guessing it was $2,000 or more for that.
I think it's a little more than that.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, if you run into difficulties, that's our door. You can come in.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks, Elizabeth.
All right.
Have a great
thanks.
holiday.
You too. Thanks.
Okay. You can come on up, Bonnie.
I just talked to Steve.
Because it's work sessions, do you want to?
Yeah, we're going into work sessions on the budget. So I don't think we need to take any action on anything. Everything for a regular meeting is completed, so.
I didn't make a motion to adjourn. Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. We're going to be meeting with Historical Society, Historic Preservation, and the Fair Board, and then we have a work session with secondary roads following that. So all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We are adjourned.